What's going on, podcast family? It's Odell Bazell here with another amazing interview on the Public Speaking Profits podcast, brought to you by Getting On Marketing. I'm excited that you're going to be able to listen to this conversation. This is with somebody who's super important to me in my business growth and personally as well. But I have to, just for those that might not officially know Arel Moodie, tell you a little bit about him. Arel Moodie has built multiple, that means more than two, multiple seven-figure businesses in the speaking space, a Disney Plus show host, and the tech co-founder of Talkadot. We're going to be talking about that amazing software. That's like the official couple of sentences for him, but just want to let you know that Arel Moodie is the man. When I first got started in public speaking, I stalked people on the internet, as you should, as you're researching the industries and different places that you're going into. And I saw this guy who's like on extreme entrepreneur tour. Like he was doing all of this crazy stuff, and we're around the same age. So I'm like, how have I lacked this much? And I got to meet him at an event. Our booths, I think, were like right across from each other. And just got to talk to him, just got to chop it up. And just one of the most genuine human beings in the world. We've been able to experience life together. When we first met, you and Yolanda weren't married. Me and Sierra just got married, and no kids, I don't believe. And then, now here we are, man. So I'm excited to have you here. Appreciate you, man. How you feeling? How you doing?
Yeah, no, it's very rare that I get to have people that I consider friends equally as I do mentors, as I do stand-up good people that have been part of the trajectory like you have. So it's always cool. I love that you stay true to, I remember us having conversations many years ago about the idea of being, and you don't want to be a public success and a private failure. Right? You don't want to have a lot of success on the outside, but have a totally messed up internal life. And what I love about you is you are very dedicated to your wife, to your kids, and to your business. And I think there's very few people that I can say I've seen that from the beginning. So it is just it's an honor to be your friend, and it's an honor to be on this journey with someone like you.
I love it, man. I love it. So now we got all the bro love out the way. Let's talk about some marketing.
Let's do it. Let's go hard on it, yo.
And here's what's exciting. I remember, and you probably don't even remember this. You either posted or we were having a conversation, and you mentioned the book Expert Secrets to me. Mm-hmm. And I got the book and I read the book like I was on a speaking trip or something like that. And I remember like messaging you and saying like, yo,
I was just rereading it it's literally on my desk because I was just rereading it. It's that good. It's so random you bring that up. Yeah.
It's crazy, but that, I think it was 2017-ish. That's when I was like, okay, this marketing stuff, like I got to figure out this marketing stuff. And so with Public Speaking Profits, we super serve speakers, individuals that got started in business where we did. And so for those individuals, Arel, right now, I want you to talk specifically to them as it relates. We're going into like the 2020s now. You and I, we started before the internet was what it is now. So we didn't have the TikToks and we didn't have the reels and all that stuff. If you were talking to somebody that's looking to build their business or grow going into the 2020s, what are some quick things you would have them do or you would advise them to do?
Yeah, I am a huge, I was told this early in the game by a very successful mentor of mine who said the medium will always change, but the method does not. And that was wildly good for me, because what happens is I think people go, oh, I got to go on chat bots and I got to go on TikTok ads and I got to do on, I got to get Facebook groups and I got to get like, direct, whatever it is, right? Like, so what happens is people chase the medium, but they don't realize the method stays 100% the same. You might change it to the medium. So as honest as it sounds, and probably as unsexy as it sounds, is that you first have to understand, why does someone go from stranger to client? What are the three different modalities, right? There is the cold, meaning they have no idea who you are, no interest in you, never heard of you, couldn't care. You've got the warm, that they've got some knowledge of you, but they're not ready. And then you've got the hot, which is they're making a decision and they're trying to decide you or the other person. So you got to understand that those are how three of the conceptual mindsets of the audience are. And how do you move the cold to the warm to the hot, and the hot to a close? And if you can understand like the method and like just this conceptually things, you can then apply it to any modality. So I think one, get clear on the science behind anything so you don't chase shiny objects and you can actually grow your business.
That's phenomenal. And even what you just said, I think kind of speaks to the epiphany or the realization that I had by getting into speaking when we first met. Super young also. When you're super young and still super filled with testosterone, you kind of look at everything. If you're competitive at all, you look at everything as kind of like a competition, and you're sizing people up, especially when you have a performative type of business like speaking, where it's like, if I'm good, the audience, you get all of that. And so you get that kind of feedback. And so when I first got in, I thought it was like, well, the more they clap, the more they'll book.
Yeah.
And when you discover that that's not the case, it can mess you up a little bit. So talk to that person that they're getting good, as you should get good. I believe you should get great. I think that's one thing that you and I align on. Like, you have to be really, really good at this as far as speaking. But when you're talking about going to cold to warm to hot to close, what should people be doing to make sure that they're taking that person on their ideal person on that journey?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is understand the difference between a real metric and a vanity metric.
I can't wait. Go ahead.
Like you've got to know that there are lots of vanity metrics that are easier to grasp. Likes are vanity metrics. Followers are vanity metrics. Applause are vanity metrics. Laughter when you speak, right? Now, it doesn't mean those things aren't important, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying is, if that's all you're focused on, you're failing, right? The real metrics are like at a core, and there's like a deeper level to this, and then I'll give you like there's a normal level and a deeper level. So the normal level is, well, what really moves the needle, right? Like, what really gets me from cold to warm, warm to hot, right? So I remember going to a speaking engagement when I was super young, and every speaking engagement I ever been to was bad. This is before I was like a professional. And one guy in 1 hour took me from, I don't know who this guy is, to I want to be like him one day, right? 1 hour totally changed my whole mind. And I remember going, what the heck was that? What was that? Now, did he get the applause? Yes. Did he get laughter? Yes, but there was something way deeper. It's like I shifted. There's lots of people that can make you clap. There's lots of people, and you see a lot of speakers who do this. They look for like one-liners, so they build a whole presentation with tons of great one-liners, and people go, But at the end of it, a week later, I go, I have no idea what that person said. I don't remember anything about them. So they didn't understand. They looked at the and that was good as a vanity metric that I'm doing a good job. And what I think the greatest speakers do is they say, well, and again, I'm talking about speakers here for a moment. They take a stranger and they say, what is the perspective that I need to shift in my audience? How do I get my audience? And I have to understand my audience and say, this is how they're currently seeing the world, present why they're seeing it the wrong way, flip it to make them see it in a completely different way, and then leave them with a step in action to take with that new perspective. If I can do that, if I can actually do that, that's the metric that matters. Well, how do you discover that? Well, here's a very simple thing that it took me years to figure out. At the end of a presentation, if you get vanity metrics, people will clap. Great. They're going to come up to you typically and say, hey, you did a great job. Great. Well, the next question you have to ask them is, what did you take away most from my presentation? And listen, are they going, oh, you were just great, you failed. Oh, you were funny, you failed. Oh my gosh, it changed my life. How did it change your life? It just did, you failed. You have to get them to say, I see the world this way now. I want to do this now. I realize I was doing this wrong before. And then if I do that, naturally, I need to take the next step with it. Now, if you're consciously aware, the next step should be your product, your service, your thing that solves that next problem for them. So if you really understand if you're doing this correctly, one of the metrics that I think, and again, let's say I'm selling speaking services, I should have people coming up to me and saying, we need you to come back and speak. I need you to come speak at this association or this group I'm a part of, or I want to become a client of yours, right? Those are the three metrics that I believe are actual metrics that you've done your job correctly. If you get, oh my gosh, you changed my life. Oh my gosh, let's take a picture. Oh my God, that's all wonderful. And you should be there for that. And that is the core beauty of the work we do. But in terms of metrics that will actually grow one's business, those three things: come back and speak again, I need you to speak at this other thing, or I want to become a client and buy your product or your service. If you do that, now you've actually taken them on that right journey.
Man, that's beautiful. I hope y'all are taking notes on that. And for those that, if you are not a speaker, or you're not a person that is selling speaking services, even if you are selling a service, this is why I am bullish, and I will go to my grave saying that public speaking is the greatest marketing medium of all time, because you can't do that in any other way in a condensed amount of time like that, like the snap of a finger, the sound of a voice, in which you can help people realize that you are a great solution to their problem. So you just mentioned something, and I want to talk about Talk a Dot. At Get Known Marketing, we have a simple philosophy. More people need to know you, but they need to be the right people, and that's where we come in. We help you generate more leads and meet with more of your ideal clients than any other service-based opportunity. Now, if you're interested in generating more leads, just reach out to me and my team by clicking the link below or somewhere in this description, back to your regularly scheduled programming. Because I told you, I was like, it's genius. Like it's genius. It's going to allow speakers to begin to automate that type of feedback that you're talking about. And even if they're not speakers, if it's somebody that's putting together a small seminar, if it's a doctor that's trying to help people get better, heal their diabetes without medicine, if that's something, if it's somebody trying to get people to lose weight, if it's a dentist trying to get kids braces before they go off to college, if it's an attorney trying to get people into a coaching program or an advisory program that they're putting together, they can use Talkadot too. So for those that have no idea what I'm talking about, and they think I'm just putting words together with Talkadot, let us know like what the software Talkadot is and how you came up with it.
Yeah. So here's what happens for anyone, and this is really important, especially like I use speaking, and speaking is my passion, but my core identity is entrepreneur. That is my core identity. And what I discovered through doing, whether it was my speaking, whether it was my business consulting group, it's focused just in the upstate New York area called Profound, or the software that we created, and I'll tell you how we get onto it. You've got to figure out a couple of things, right? Number one is, how do I flip someone's perspective and actually make them feel like I wasn't just in a sales presentation the whole time, like I actually got value, but it makes me want to take the next step? Well, the only way to do that is actually to get feedback from your audience. It's the only way. But here is the challenge. The people who will come up to you at the end of a presentation are either the people who really love you or really hate you. It's no one in the middle. Right? People will come up and be like, yo, you offended me when you said that. Like they hate you, they'll say it. Or they will come up to you and be like, oh my gosh, I love you, right? Now, depending upon what your experience is, those are called, if you look at a bell curve, those are the two extremes on the bell curve. But what about everyone in the middle who is not moved enough to want to have that conversation? Or you know what? There was a huge line of people and they didn't want to wait on the line. So, maybe I did want to say something to you, or maybe I did want to give you like a wildly useful, here's what my experience from the audience is. The challenge is there's really no good way to capture it. So what happens is you have a lot of speakers who go, well, every time I speak, 4 people come up to me and tell me how much I changed their life. Okay, but what about everyone else? What was their experience? And there's something called an experience gap. And this is for anyone who does any service. Now, I'm doing speaking here, but any service. There's the experience you believe that you were giving your audience, and there's the feeling they're actually receiving. In between those two things is called the experience gap. Now, most people go, I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I don't need anyone's feedback, I know I'm great. And that person's guaranteed to suck. It's guaranteed, right? And it's guaranteed you're not going to go far because you don't know that the world is constantly changing. The post-COVID world, which is the one like we're currently in, right? Depending upon when you're listening to this, has completely changed. So the way that we do things 3 years ago, you go, well, that's how I did it, I'm just going to do it here. It doesn't work. The way you do things live versus the way you do things virtually, it's changed. Do you know what's changed? Do you understand how that change has occurred? You've got to keep your finger. The businesses that actually do the best are constantly doing surveys and feedback. So what we figured out is, well, if there's no good way to close that experience gap and make it easy for people to get it, then what if we could create it? And I was lucky enough to have an incredible set of co-founders who are much smarter on the product and the technical side. And we were able to say, here's what we would love it to do. Here's how we'd like it to do it. Here's now let's build it. And then our goal with it is threefold. So someone will take a QR code, put it up at the end of their presentation, scans it, goes through an extremely highly designed, very quick, very efficient survey that your audience takes. We have 40,000 surveys taken so far this year. 98% of people who start it finish it. So we have a really, we're really dialing it in so that people actually take the survey, which is like one of the hardest lifts. Then that data automatically gets turned into a visual report. That report becomes one, a feedback tool for you to get better, but two, a marketing tool. And this is the key. Now that I have data on what I need to improve on, that's for me, that's how I get better. But I also get data on what I'm doing really well. I can then turn that into visually, through our software, you just press a button, you can get these downloadable images that show the actual feedback, how valuable your talks are, how many people want to hear you speak again, how actionable, how relevant, how inspiring, right? Like you can get this data, and now I can share this with the people who brought me in to confirm the experience you thought we had, we actually have through data. I can send it to upcoming events saying, hey, you should have me come speak at your conference or your event. Well, why should I bring you in? Well, here's my cool fancy video. Everyone has a highlighted video. Here's my data. Okay, well, you can't lie on data. Like you can't, there's but so much you can fake, but you can't fake data over long periods of time. So now you can use that data. And then the other thing that we built in, because we know it's interesting for people, is to be able to pull leads, people in your audience. So imagine I am a chiropractor and I want to help people get better with chiropractic. I'm passionate and I love talking about chiropractic, but I don't love the sales part of it, as an example, right? So number one, maybe they should come to someone like you who can show them how to like put a message together and be confident. But number two, you can also use the tool, because now you speak and you say, hey, give me feedback. But in the software, we go, okay, well, do you want to work with this person? Yes, I do. Click yes. Now, when you're done, you have a list of people that said they want to work with you. And then you can just, do your follow-up mechanisms. So you can use the data for marketing. You can use it to pull leads, and it's all automatic and you don't have to do anything. And you can focus on the stuff you're good at. So that's Talkadot and how we came up with it and why we believe that it's useful. And everyone's going to say, how much does it cost? It's free. And we have an upgraded version as well. So there's no reason anyone shouldn't give it a try, because we believe if you can get the data and use that for marketing and use it for feedback, it'll absolutely change your life.
And when did you all start Talkadot?
This year, 2022. So we're not even fully a year into it, and we've gotten a couple thousand users, which is really exciting. Tens of thousands of surveys administered. So actually, no, not a couple thousand. I think we just crossed 1,000. I don't want to lie. We'll get to a few thousand next year. And we have something for event planners as well that we're building. So really excited, but not even a full year into it.
And so having that software, for those of you listening, it's a game changer for you, especially if you're speaking at events or you're putting on your own events, because you can give people that direct mechanism. And Arel and his group, they do an amazing job of supporting you. So even if you were to get Talkadot and you're like, okay, well, I put this event together, well, when should I start talking about it? They have trainings and different things like that as well. Also have what do y'all call the meetings? The
town halls.
Town halls. Yeah, have town hall
yeah.
meetings where sharing different things as well. That's the one thing about having a software as a service, the support connected to it. So it's super powerful. Another question I want to ask you, Arel, before we start winding down this interview is, for those that are in a space where they don't maybe have the audiences for Talkadot. Like they have the desire, but they're not there where they're having, 2, 3, 5 speaking engagements a month, or they're not putting events together. What are some things they can do to start getting to that point where they need Talkadot?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing, well, number one, you've got to, at the core, put together a message that solves a problem. Most people aren't clear what problem they solve. That's why, I highly recommend any service provider use speaking. And someone like you, for example, that understands the nuances of the game can actually really help support them. So when you got to understand not just what you speak about, because if you ask most people what problem do you solve, they'll answer it with what they speak about. No, you might speak about leadership, but what problem do you solve? You might be a chiropractor, but what problem do you solve? Oh, we help women who are pregnant have a easy delivery and not pain when they deliver, or minimize the pain. Okay, that's the problem you solve. You do it through chiropractic. You're ready to go on a roadshow with that, right? So you got to be one clear on that, because just having a message isn't enough. You got to be clear on what problem you solve. Number two, you got to ask yourself, who already has my audience that I can go to? And they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So for example, your local chamber of commerce, I cannot tell you how many local businesses don't even think to go to their local chamber of commerce. Their local chamber of commerce has hundreds, if not thousands of members in every city, every town across America, and that they constantly need new information and presentations and experiences. So you can literally just go to your local chamber of commerce. Yes, you're probably going to have to join. Welcome to being an adult, right? It's like a couple $100. It's not going to ruin you. And you say, hey, thank you so much for letting me join. One of the things I would love to do is do a presentation on this problem, how women can not have a painful pregnancy and easy delivery. I'm not going to sell anything. I just am really passionate about it. And I think it'd be a great way to introduce myself to it. So you say, Arel, but you're not going to sell anything. No, but you're going to get feedback at the end of it, right? If you use Talkadot. So, and you're going to share that feedback report with the host who's going to appreciate it, and you still will be able to pay leads. So it's really, really, really helpful that way. But number one, I would start with, where are people already going? And if it's not the Chamber of Commerce, one of the things I love to do is ask people, like literally, let's say a client, like someone who's an ideal client, or potentially someone who doesn't work with you, but would be an ideal client. Just ask them, what associations are you a part of? What membership groups are you already a part of, right? Most people who are about something, right, will be a part of something. And then you got to go to that association and find out if that association does conferences, which typically they do. Then you got to find out when those conferences are. Then you got to find out when do they do their RFPs, or requests for presenters, right? Then you just submit the problem you solve, your presentation, for their RFP. Let them accept you or deny you. Just do this a bunch of times. They will accept you. Then you get in front of a bunch of people, and then you use your platform to solve that problem. Again, I cannot stress this enough. You've got to know what you're saying, how to switch that mind, how to put together all of those things, because you could have the opportunity but waste it. And as the quote says, the opportunity of a lifetime only exists for the lifetime of the opportunity, right? So you want to make sure that that opportunity you're ready for. That's why you need support to do that, because no one does it like off of just GP. And then you just rinse and repeat that process, and you'll get in front of people. And then if you do a good enough job, you'll be invited to do more. And then you'll get into that magical snowball that every speaker wants, where every time you speak, more opportunities come, every time you speak, more opportunities come. And then it's just snowball just rolling down a mountain. But that's what you have to do to get the snowball built and then pushed.
That's amazing, y'all. Y'all have listened to the wisdom and the amazing advice of the one and only Arel Moodie. His name is Arel. It's Arel, not
and that's
Ariel.
Odell. And that's Odell.
Right. I'm Odell Bizel. It's still funny to me how many people that know us and that have paid us mispronounce our name. But they, as long as they know where to send the check. Arel, where can people find you and learn more about you and Talkadot?
Yeah, so two great things is, one, I'm the only Arel Moodie in the whole world. So if you go into LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and put in Arel Moodie, I'll pop up there. So I'm probably most active on like LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff. So feel free to connect with me on that. In terms of Talkadot, I highly recommend everyone who's listening to this go to talkadot.com and get a free account. Say that Odell or this podcast is how you heard about us. We'll hook you up with a surprise, a little bonus for you, so you'll like it. So go ahead and do that and start using the tool. It's really effective and it'll really help you.
I love it. I love it. Podcast family, I know how we do. We'll see y'all at the top, not from the top. Take care.